I'd like to welcome you all to the celebration of life for Ken Peter Thomas. I must say that the view from here is exceptional. Man, oh man, Ken would be popping his buttons, I think. We have both you here in person, and we also have an online audience. And the last time I checked, I think that number was, pushing 120 people. So there's more than a few folks that are helping celebrate from afar, relatives and friends. My name is Phil Haig, and I'm honored to be your MC here this afternoon. I am Ken's brother-in-law. I'd like to begin by asking Ken's immediate family to join us. To the sound of the pipes, there's obvious some Scottish heritage in this family. If they're ready. Wow. I'm joined by brother Brian and his wife Genny, sister Lorna and her daughter Cayley Thomas Haig, and nephew Scott and his wife Erin and their children, Finn, Myles, and Bridget, and niece CarrieAnn and her husband Dennis and son Keller. We are all very appreciative of you coming today. Thank you. And those folks have brought their remarkable creativity and energy into making this event what it is today. The displays, just all the elements. The musical accompaniment that you heard as you came in is being provided by Ken Hillaby, and he's a neighbor at where Ken lived at ArtSpace. Quick couple of housekeeping items. Washrooms are down the hall on the right towards the doors where you entered. And there are a couple of guest books that will be circulating throughout the tables, the ones that were at the front that you may have signed when you came in, just so that you have an opportunity to add anything more. They'll pass through the tables throughout the program. And the live stream of the program is being recorded, and a notice will be sent out when it's available on YouTube. I wish to acknowledge that we are gathered here today on land that's included under Treaty 6. And it's been occupied and looked after by various indigenous peoples, including Cree, Nakota Sioux, the Ojibwe, Saulteaux, Dene, Inuit, and Métis peoples for many generations. Their histories, languages, and cultures contribute to our vibrant community here in Amisquachigan, which basically is known as Edmonton. In celebrating the life of a man today who dealt with significant challenges his entire life, it's important to acknowledge the impact of colonization on Indigenous peoples. and that has forced them to contend with many significant challenges and difficult circumstances. As the Canadian Crown is signatory to the treaty, that makes us all treaty people. Our support is necessary and vital to help Indigenous peoples overcome those challenges. I'd like to now ask Lorna to come up and start with a Serenity Prayer.
Thank you. Just beautiful to see you all here. Ken is just smiling, beaming. So any of you who might have visited Ken's apartment might have seen this cross stitch in his kitchen. And what it says, well, actually I should start by saying it was given to my mother shortly after Ken was born, when it was apparent that he would have challenges in his life, and it is called the Serenity Prayer. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Well, recently a friend of mine shared a different version of the Serenity Prayer, which actually suits Ken. Let's call it Ken's version of the Serenity Prayer. Grant me the serenity to accept the people I cannot change, the courage to change direction when I see them coming, and the wisdom to try to not wheel into them when I can't avoid them. I'd like to now welcome Penny and Jim Malmberg, and they're going to tell us why we're all here today.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kenny, and this is Jim. And can you hear me here? Checkity one. This is Angus. Thank you, Angus. Checkity one. Check. MasterCard Visa.
Katie, what's this guy of a Serenity Prayer, right?
Hello. Oh, there we are.
Woo!
So I'm Penny, and this is Jim, and I just want to thank the family so much for having us part of this celebration for Ken today. This song is called We're Here for Love, and I can just see that in the room right now. It has a chorus in it that's very easy to sing along to, so we're going to invite you to sing along. You'll learn it on the fly. It's quite easy to catch on to. And yeah, we all know that we're here for love. Is that right? Right on. All right, here it goes. We're on a rock, flying through space, going so fast, where is this place? We are the human race. We're spinning round. We're spinning round. They say there's heaven, they say that there's hell, but where we're going, it's hard to tell. So while we're living, you gotta do it well. We're spinning round. Love, 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 love. We're here for love. Can we try that, everybody? Love, 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 love. We're here for love. Beautiful. Let's do it again. Love, 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 love. We're here for love. There's hellos and there's goodbyes. No one here gets out alive. Life is short, enjoy the ride. We're spinning, we're spinning, we're spinning round. We're spinning round. Why are we here? Why are we here? We're here for love. Love, 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 love. We're here for love. Oh yeah, sing it like you mean it. Love, 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 love. We're here for love. We're on a rock, flying through space, going so fast. Where is this place? We are the human race. We're spinning, we're spinning, we're spinning round. We're spinning round. We're here for love. Here we go, everybody. Love, 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 love. We're here for love. Love, 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 love. We're here for love.
Thank you, Penny and Jim. And how true. That is really what this room is all about right now. And it's just a special thing. Celebrating the life of Ken Peter Thomas is a life truly worth celebrating. It's remarkable in so many ways. I'd like to offer an account of Ken's early life before we present the first slideshow segment of Ken's early years and his family ties. On the 2nd of February, 72 years ago, a baby boy came into this world not breathing. He was what was referred to as a blue baby. Fortunately, resuscitation was successful, but it wasn't known how long he'd been without oxygen and what the consequence would be. Sheila and Alan, his parents, were told the baby was afflicted with cerebral palsy and might not survive the year, and perhaps institutional care might be best. They disregarded that and took Ken home. Medical assessments of cerebral palsy at the time tended to focus on what a child could not do, rather than on what they could, and at the time often led to assessments that the child was unsuitable for education. Beyond Ken being the hero in this story, his mom Sheila, a registered nurse, and dad Alan are also the heroes. He was christened Kenneth Peter, and there was no question. He was one of the family and was going to get all the care and love he deserved. They were determined to give him a fighting chance, and often fight they did. It was an ongoing challenge to find ways to make available the opportunities and push for inclusion. And Ken responded. His limitations were only physical, and that bright spark in Ken's eyes that led Sheila's nursing classmate, Madge McAdam, to declare, "There's much going on behind those bright eyes." And that proved to be such an understatement. Ken was so much more than his body, and the limitations that CP presented were challenges that he was determined to meet head on. As a young boy, he attended the CP clinic in Calgary, primarily focusing on developing motor skills as much as possible. He started his formal education in Calgary, and soon after the family moved to Edmonton, where Ken was able to attend the Glen Rose Hospital School, specializing in education for children and young adults with differing abilities. And it was there, in his final year before graduation, that Ken was awarded the J.E. Bradley Citizenship Award. I'd like to give you the background on how that award was assessed and awarded. The recipient is chosen by the faculty considering diligence in studies, spirit of cooperation, and helpfulness shown to fellow students and staff, willing participation in all activities, and cheerfulness and a positive attitude. By his or her example, all through the year, this student has come closest to the ideal of best all-around student. Wow. The only thing missing was leaps tall buildings in a single bound. And as an aside, he did rappel down a tall building. He continued his education beyond high school, taking accounting courses at Grant MacEwan College. And more of the details of Ken's history, his activities and awards can be found in the long-form obituary on the Trinity Funeral Home's website, if you'd like to, explore that further. I'd like to now introduce the slideshow segment of Ken's early life. Cayley has put in an enormous amount of time, careful consideration in preparing and organizing this. And what you'll find is we get a trip through memory lane from, Ken's first arrival to
My life, my life, my life, my life in the sunshine. Everybody loves the sunshine. Sunshine. Everybody loves the sunshine. Sunshine. Folks get down in the sunshine. Sunshine. Yeah. Folks get brown in the sunshine. Just bees and things and flowers. 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 My life, my life, my life, my life in the sunshine. Everybody loves the sunshine. Sunshine. Everybody loves the sunshine. Sunshine. Folks get down in the sunshine. Sunshine. Folks get brown in the sunshine. Feel what I feel when I feel what I feel when I'm feeling in the sunshine. Feel what I feel when I feel what I feel when I'm feeling in the sunshine. Yes, 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 yes. Do what I do when I do what I do when I'm doing in the sunshine. Do what I do when I do what I do when I'm doing in the sunshine. Sunshine. Everybody loves the sunshine.
I thought love was only true in fairy tales, and for someone else, but not for me. Our love was out to get me. That's the way it seemed. Disappointment haunted all my dreams. Then I saw her face. Now I'm a believer. Not a trace of doubt in my mind. I'm in love. I'm a believer. I couldn't leave her if I tried. I thought love was more or less a given thing. Seems the more I gave, the less I got. What's the use in trying? All you get is pain. When I needed sunshine, I got rain. Oh, then I saw her face. Now I'm a believer. Not a trace of doubt in my mind. I'm in love. I'm a believer. I couldn't leave her if I tried. No, that's the way it seemed. Disappointment haunted all my dreams. Then I saw her face. Now I'm a believer. Not a trace of doubt in my mind. I'm in love. I'm a believer. I couldn't leave her if I tried. Yes, I saw her face. Now I'm a believer. I'm not a trace of doubt in my mind. Said I'm a believer. Yeah, 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 yeah. Said I'm a believer. Yeah, I'm a believer. Hold me, kiss me, whisper sweetly that you love me forever. Kiss me, whisper sweetly that you love me forever.
And the song was Love, and that family received a whole whack of love back from Ken as he was growing up. Unfortunately, Ken's dad, Alan, passed away when Ken was only 23 years old. You saw him in some of the slides. But you also saw Ken and his mom in a lot of the slides. His mom, who was Ken's biggest supporter, took on the role of a single parent. She and Ken were a team, and she filled scrapbooks with Ken's accomplishments and was always in his corner as she helped Ken live the life, his life to the fullest. She was a remarkable woman who deserved an award similar to the one that Ken got in school, Best All-Round Mom. She was formally recognized for extensive volunteer work by the Paralympic Sports Association with a memorial award in her name. That upbringing of Ken's, you've seen snippets of, set the stage for Ken to take on the world. And if what we do defines somewhat who we are, then Ken was a multi-dimensional character. He was an Paralympian track athlete. He was an advocate for the rights of people with disabilities and an advocate for supportive housing. He was a sports fan, a music lover and dancer, a runner, a traveler, an adventurer, and equally as important, a very supportive uncle and good friend. Those are the things he did. How he approached them was who he truly was. He went at them with an incredible measure of determination, perseverance, and patience, generally salted with his wicked sense of humor and that ready laugh. Quite a distinct laugh that many of us fondly remember him for. I can't imitate it. One example of how he used humor to challenge those who didn't know him and first only saw him as a disability, as his disability was a t-shirt he wore that read, "I don't have CP, I'm an alien." And his coach, Tom Landry, thought Ken should have that shirt. Right up until the end, that sense of humor continued. In looking at some of his things he felt others would appreciate, he decided he should bequeath his sister Lorna with his bidet toilet seat. His humor was often followed with that laugh or a wry smile, and it said, "Gotcha." Over the course of Ken's lifetime, there have been advances in the areas of the rights of people with disabilities, removing barriers, ensuring inclusion, and changing public attitudes. Those advances were mostly a result of strong-minded people advocating for change, relentlessly so a lot of the time. Ken was one of those strong-minded people. I'd like to now introduce you to one of Ken's very close friends and fellow advocate who worked with Ken over the years, making the city of Edmonton a more accessible and accommodating city. Please welcome Leslie Tanzi.
Wow. That's all I can say is wow. Anyways, good afternoon, all. Thanks so much for attending today. My name is Leslie Tanzi, and I worked on the Accessibility Advisory Committee, planning events when Ken was a committee member from 2005 to 2011. The committee's goal was to advise council on making Edmonton more livable, inclusive, and accessible for people with disabilities. Members are chosen by City Council annually through a public application process based on their experience with disabilities and community involvement. Ken would be gobsmacked, and I have no idea where I got that word from, but it suits today for sure to see you all here. He touched a lot more lives than I thought, probably because he truly was a kind and caring man. He was the best-looking man I've ever seen wearing hats. He looked dapper in all the hats I'd seen him in, so. I love Ken. I consider him one of my besties. He never judged me, he put up with me, and he made me laugh so hard sometimes that I thought I'd pee my pants. One of the traditions he and I had every year was taking each other out and treating each other to lunch for our birthdays. I always appreciated my time with Ken, whether it be at the theater, watching him rappel down the Sutton Hotel, a mere 29 stories and 265 feet, attending the Heritage Classic and freezing our butts off, attending the odd football game, or attending galas and other events. He was always at the events planned for the committee and was such a great support. After meeting Ken the first time, I picked him up from his home to go somewhere. I went into his apartment and was taken aback by the braziers hanging on a string in his kitchen. At first I thought, are you kidding me? Then I realized it was a great conversation piece and that was Ken. When Ken left the committee back in 2011, I had already built up a close relationship with him professionally and personally. Just one of those guys, and boy, did he listen to me vent about life sometimes, and teenagers. I always appreciated that about Ken. He listened and never judged, always so calming. I always admired the fact that Ken was so damn independent and wasn't one to stop at anything. Ken's independence, I truly attribute to his amazing and loving family. And that starts with his mom and dad, too. Lorna, Brian, Phil, Genny, and your adult kids. I love the love you all have in your family, and I'm sure your mom, dad, and Alex are looking down with pride. I'm sure Uncle Ken and Alex are having a beer together as well. Another bestie, Shannon Dean, hopefully she doesn't kill me over this, would often recall and mention to me in the past some of the great times with Ken. She had met Ken when they were both in grade 7 at the Glen Rose in 1968, I believe. Shannon would often say what a great time they all had when they went on the Panama Canal cruise some years back. She said that pretty much daily, yes, daily, someone would approach her and ask her, "Where's Ken?" Those who asked where he was told Shannon what a great time they had with him the night before. And doing the limbo rang a bell. There are many great memories with Ken, but this one I still laugh about. Ken and I were heading to a site visit for the annual Mayor's Awards one year. I picked him up, and as we were driving, he kept saying, "I have a hot butt." I said, "Right, Ken, you got a hot butt, okay?" He kept repeating it, and then I realized and started laughing. He wasn't talking about himself, but about the seat heater being on full blast in the middle of summer. Memories, which takes me to this. I will leave you all with this. I saw it and it spoke to me. When someone you love becomes a memory, the memory becomes a treasure. May you all have the wonderful memories of Ken like I do. Now I'll introduce Zachary Weeks, another bestie of the 3 members of the committee over the years that I've attached myself to.
Okay. Wow. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Wesley, for those heartfelt words and for sharing such wonderful memories of Ken. It's clear from everything we've heard that Ken's legacy isn't just about what he did, but how he did it. With passion, humor, and an unshakable belief that things could be better for all of us. He never shied away from challenging the status quo, and that's something I've always admired about him. Ken's work on the Accessibility Advisory Committee, especially his efforts on projects like the Accessibility Parking Awareness Week, set a powerful example of how creativity and perseverance can lead to real change. Ken's idea to run radio ads during the busy holiday season to raise awareness about accessible parking was a hit. The campaign's success even caught the attention of the mayor of Vancouver, who wanted to replicate it in his city. That was Ken, always thinking ahead and making a lasting impact with his ideas. I still love Ken's idea to use radio ads to raise awareness about accessible parking because it's effective and speaks to people in a way that makes them think twice. That's the kind of practical, no-nonsense approach we need more of in today's advocacy. Ken's work laid the foundation for a lot of what we're building on today. His advocacy, especially around accessibility in sports and public places, continues to shape the conversation. And while his achievements are impressive, it's important to remember that Ken's leadership was never about the accolades. It was always about creating a more inclusive world, for future generations. Now I'd like to bring us into the present, because Ken's work set the stage for many of the projects we're fighting for today. Right now, advocates like myself and some of you in this room are tackling key issues in housing, transportation, employment, and both physical and digital accessibility. Ken's journey with accessible housing played a critical role in shaping independent living for people with disabilities in Edmonton. On the transportation front, we're continuing to advocate for equitable public transportation options. People with disabilities deserve a system that works for them, one that includes accessible buses, transit stations, and better access to ride-sharing services. Ken's contributions in the area were significant. He advocated for the creation of the Disabled Adult Transportation Service, also known as DATS, and fought to ensure the LRT station and bus systems were accessible from the start. Today, we're pushing for more accessible taxis that accept service animals and working towards a centralized dispatch system where DATS and vehicle for hire companies can streamline transportation services. This ongoing effort builds on the foundation Ken helped lay, ensuring that we can move freely in our own cities without barriers, a right we're still fighting for today. It's also important to recognize that Alberta remains one of the last two provinces in Canada without provincial accessibility legislation. Advocates across the province will continue pushing for this to change, and one of the key ways we're doing that is by supporting MLA Marie Renaud's Private Members Bill 206. This bill is a step toward a more inclusive future, and while the road ahead may be long, we are committed to making sure it gets the attention it deserves from the provincial government. To support this bill, I encourage you to write, call, or meet with your MLA. You can also stay informed and sign up for updates at barrierfreeab.ca. Together we can make Ken's vision of an inclusive future a reality. As we continue this work, we honor Ken's legacy by not only remembering what he accomplished, but by picking up where he left off. Whether it's advocating for accessible housing, fighting for better transportation, improving employment opportunities, or ensuring accessibility in the digital realm, we have to keep pushing forward, just like Ken did. Together, we can carry the torch that Ken lit for us and make Edmonton and beyond a place where everyone belongs.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for that, Zachary and Leslie. Yes, advocating was something that, Ken so believed deeply in his soul. Ken is an interesting guy in that he was a watcher. He would sit back and he'd take in, there wasn't much that didn't get taken in, and he would, process and read people, and only after doing that would he kind of decide, what the real core of things were, and I think it was a real strength of his. I mentioned earlier that he was an athlete. Well, he discovered one of his great passions on the track, and how could he motor? Driving himself backwards, he could really scoot on the smooth track surface, and he was soon competing at local and then national and international events. While it wasn't the culmination of his career, competing in the 1988 Paralympics in Seoul, Korea, was the biggest highlight. I'd like to read a short excerpt from Ken's account of that Paralympic experience. So think now of Ken speaking this or typing it out on a keyboard with his nose. The next morning, we got to practice in the Olympic Stadium. What a great feeling I had as I wheeled around the track and looked up into the stands and saw the giant scoreboard with a TV screen, the Olympic flame, workmen putting up the Seoul Paralympic sign in big gold letters, a crowd of school children running into the stadium and down the steps into their seats. And as I neared the end of my first lap around the beautiful, flawless, fast track, I suddenly got this feeling of exhilaration. I think I finally truly realized that I was at the Paralympic Games and not just another track meet. I was one of the few who ever has a chance to compete for his country at the Olympic Games. We did our workout and returned to the village. Our next speaker is someone who Ken greatly admired and had the deepest respect for. I think Ken would be humbled and yet immensely proud that Robert Steadward would be part of celebrating Ken's life. Robert has accomplished so much in his lifetime, supporting people with disabilities to engage in sports, and the many awards he's received are so justly deserved. Ken, along with many others, credit Bob Steadward as the driving force behind the growth of the Paralympic movement. He was the first president of the International Olympic Committee, and he was instrumental in bringing the Paralympics into alignment with the other Olympics. Please welcome Robert Steadward.
Thank you very much. What a wonderful crowd here today. But I won't have to speak quite as long because I can take a page out of it that Phil just finished saying out of mine. But it was such a special time for Ken back in 1988. But this is really an honor and a privilege for me to say a few words about my good friend Ken Thomas, who I knew for more than 45 years. And he was an indispensable and irreplaceable member of our community. So this afternoon, it's a wonderful opportunity for all of us to pay tribute to this gentle, inspired, compassionate, and yet relentless, proactive crusader who made his mark in life through his unselfish contributions to the community and by causes he served so very well through dignity, respect, and understanding. Ken possessed an intangible strength that bore quiet yet profound greatness, and we all benefited from his wisdom and his teachings. He made an impact on everyone he met with integrity, humility, unwavering commitment to excellence, positivity, diplomacy, resilience, inspiration, humor, pride, courage, and hope. But what do each of you see in Ken? To me, it was a sporting career in track and road racing through the 70s, 80s, and far beyond, where Ken made his mark in life and sport. But how did he ever finish a race when he was always going backwards? But he did. He was very mobile. Prior to 1988, Sport for Athletes Living with a Disability was a mere fledgling organization caught within the superstructure of international sport. But we fought for our rights and our recognition. And in fact, we did more. We adapted and we grew into the third largest sporting movement in the world today, with over 195 sporting Paralympic members. And Ken, thank you. And Ken was an integral part of that growth and success. And Phil has pointed out that Ken was a member of our 1988 team in Seoul, South Korea, in athletics. These were the very first modern Paralympic Games, where we used the same training and competition venues, we stayed in the same village, and the organizing committee was the same that took care of the Olympic Games and the Paralympic Games. And it was during the Seoul Olympic and Paralympic Games in 1988 that I had an opportunity to meet the president of the International Olympic Committee at the time, Juan Antonio Samaranch. During our meeting, I shared my dream of a new worldwide organization for Paralympic athletes. And this meeting helped me to lay the foundation for the newly created International Paralympic Committee. And then 12 years later, at the Olympic Games in Sydney, Australia, I signed a memorandum of understanding that required all future bid committees the responsibility of hosting and organizing both the Olympic and the Paralympic Games. But what about Ken's journey and his experience at the first modern Paralympic Games? I mean, he was in a unique situation. Prior to 1988, our games, they weren't high-performance sport. They were mainly people who were able to recruit out of the hospitals and rehab institutions. We used doctors, nurses, physios, etc., to help in coaching. And we had to try to improve that over the years. So 1988, Ken kept a journal. He kept a diary where we left Edmonton on October the 8th to fly down to Los Angeles and then take another 11 or 12-hour flight over to Seoul, South Korea. There was a number of buses there that packed us in there and took us over to the village, where Ken was able to get his first good night's sleep. But the next day wasn't all that exciting for him, because when they woke up to all of the noise that was taking place, they had to find a couple of buses that would take them to a training site. But no one spoke English, no one knew where to go, so they ended up on a dirt track beside the river. So this wasn't so exciting. But we did find an interpreter who took us to a neighboring high school that had a reasonable cinder track that you could push the wheelchair on. Not sure whether Ken got blisters that day, but he may have. And we've already heard the quote that he had in his diary. And you know, that was so special because he had that training session on the most unique track that was made in the world at those days. But it was even more exciting the next day when Ken came into the stadium experiencing 105,000 people at the opening ceremonies. Truly an exciting event for everyone. Oh, how did Ken do? He did quite fine. He picked up a couple of medals in the very first modern Paralympic Games, of which he was proud, his family was proud, and the entire team was proud of. So, dear friends, judging by the tributes that we're hearing today, Ken was obviously held in the highest esteem by each and every one of us, and by the far-reaching scope that was encompassed by his memory and diverse interests, passions, and skills, both as an athlete and, more importantly, as a person. He always believed that no one ever achieves anything on their own. It's a team effort. He possessed an intangible strength that bore quiet yet profound greatness, and we all benefited from the wisdom of his teachings. He has bequeathed to all of us personal and enduring memories that will be treasured throughout our lives. And now he is gone, but never forgotten. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bob, for helping us come along on a trip back through time to, the first Paralympics. It's hard to, if you've watched the Olympics, you know the excitement that is involved with the world coming together, right? And especially in these times where there's this sense of unity and goodwill and sportsmanship, and thank you for that. Another area in which Ken was passionate about and committed to fighting for was independent supportive housing. He understood how much a person's quality of life could be improved through independent housing alternatives as compared to institutional ones typically available. Part of the fight was the mantra, "Nothing about me without me." I'd like to now introduce Roxanne Ulanicki, who was former president of SAIL at the Art Space Housing Cooperative, which basically managed the care of people that were using care within the cooperative. Roxanne.
Thank you. Okay. No worries. Okay. So hi everyone, it's great to see everyone here. So many familiar faces from Paralympic days to Art Space where Ken lived. So I feel like I've known Ken forever, and it was kind of verified to me today by all the news articles in the back, because even before I met Ken, I remember seeing him in the paper and on TV. So I feel like Ken has been a part of my life forever. But I first met Ken in 1988, where I also went to the Paralympics in Seoul, South Korea, and I love the stories that I heard here today, because it was one of the most amazing events of my life as well. And the 105,000 people in the stadium was just unbelievable. So yeah, it was really, really nice that Ken and I got to share that, although I didn't know Ken a lot back then. He was just somebody that I, that was on the team with, but really didn't know him personally. But in 2004, I moved to Art Space Housing Co-op, where Ken lived. And Ken was one of the original members of Art Space Housing Co-op, which 30% of its units were wheelchair accessible, which for somebody who uses a wheelchair is this incredible secret society that it took me like 20 years to find wheelchair accessible housing in Edmonton, and it was such a blessing when I did find it. And I just want to say that Karen Smith is here today, also one of the original members, who is the one that introduced me and got me an interview at Art Space that many years ago. Sorry, I'm so nervous and emotional. I'm having trouble imagining a world without Ken Thomas. Sorry, but so this means a lot to me. And I know how passionate Ken was about accessible housing and the support services that are attached to it that actually gives people with disabilities the ability to live with dignity and on their own terms. And so, sorry, I just got to look at my notes. I don't want to forget anything, but the one story I wanted to tell, because when Art Space Housing Co-op was built, and I'm just telling this third party because I was not there at the time, so they built the housing, but then they needed support services to come on board so that people could really live independently, and they were denied the first time around, and Ken and a group of the originating members took a coffin and put it on the legislature grounds and put their hopes and dreams in it. So, I mean, that kind of advocacy is unbelievable. And and I've respected and admired Ken for so long because of movements like that. And so they got the support services, which eventually was called Supports for Art Space Independent Living, that we affectionately call SAIL. And it's meant so much to so many of us over the years. And so Ken, of course, was honestly, he was everywhere. Everywhere. Ken Thomas showed up and said what he had to say. And so one of the stories I wanted to tell today is we were at a housing conference many, many years ago. I think it was on Kingsway Ave at that hotel, but I'm not quite sure. But so again, Ken and I weren't super close, but we knew each other, respected each other. And he came up to me at that conference and he sort of just sidled up beside me, right? And he, gets my attention, and I look at him and he looks me in the eye, and then he looks at his coat pocket. And it took me a couple of times, because honestly, I didn't always understand Ken, and he was so patient with me, because I didn't always get the hints, that he was very clear. But anyway, so this went on. He looked at his coat pocket a couple of times, and I realized, oh, there's a piece of paper in it. Do you want me to take that out? And he's like, yeah. He nods, and I take the piece of paper out, and there is a perfectly short but profound speech on the benefits of co-op housing. I'm gonna cry again. And he, I said, would you like me to speak this for you? And he nodded. And so I had the great privilege that day of being able to go on stage and speak his words for him. And that truly meant so much to me. So again, Ken was everywhere, always advocating in ways that were creative and profound and with a sense of humor. I like that that was brought up so many times today, because Ken was a riot. And one more story I want to tell about co-op housing, because in co-op housing, what's so important is that we all participate. That's what makes it unique and special, and Ken participated. And as we all know, Ken had a bit of a speech impediment. I just called it a really strong accent that I never really understood, and he actually just gave up trying after so many years of trying. But before I get to that, what was so cool about Ken is even if you didn't understand him in the moment, he knew. There was talk about how he paid attention. And so that night, if I was in a meeting and he didn't think he was understood, I would get an email and he would tell me exactly what he was trying to say. So I totally respected that. Ken radically included himself in everything. And that's the one other story I just wanted to share today is I don't live at Art Space anymore. I moved away a couple of years ago. So it's been lovely to see all of my former neighbors here today. But in the beginning, we were on the membership committee, and my neighbor, Shauna, we were like, okay, we got to get people to participate, because that's always the issue, in cooperative housing, is there's not enough participation. And so we came up with this detailed plan about how we were going to get members to, keep track of their hours, and they would get little rewards. And so we present this to the membership committee. We're all excited. We had this form that we made up. And Ken's like, well, I can't fill out that form. I'm like, right? So I'm like, damn it. Well, we'll redo it. We'll do it in electronic form. But Ken doesn't wait, right? So that night in my email is an Excel spreadsheet showing me how I needed to do that form. So I just, sorry. But I just really wanted to share my admiration and respect for Ken. And I just want to say, as a final word, that Ken Thomas was a legend, like an absolute legend. And this world will not be the same. But I know that I will continue to tell all the stories about Ken forever. And I know all of you will too. And I just want to say that I wish Ken everlasting peace and eternal memories of a life well lived. Thank you.
Good in the back? Well, Ken was a mover and a shaker, right? And a mover. When it came to moving, the track wasn't the only platform that called to Ken. He joined a wheelchair square dancing group, the Swinging Spokes, right here at the ACT Center in 1978. And the group put on demonstrations, danced in nursing homes, and traveled to square and round dancing conventions across Canada. Ken could really alaman left and right. And through that experience, he made lifelong friends. There was just something about Ken's legs and feet. They were meant to move. And if there was music and a dance floor, it wasn't long before Ken was out there wheeling around, spinning and turning to the music. And invariably, soon to have a gal come up and dance with him. He was always ready to make room on his dance card. And if she could jive, all the better. He adhered to the saying, if you don't dance, you don't have a chance. And it's so good to see several of Ken's dance partners from over the years here. He was always quick to share his joy of moving. And that joy of moving carried over into running. Ken was a regular supporter and participant in the annual Terry Fox Run, ran various 10K and middle distance races, ran in the World Masters Games, and loved to take on the Edmonton Marathon at the 21K distance, the half. The recreational running community is remarkable in the support and encouragement that runners readily offer each other. Individuals taking on personal challenges, striving for a longer distance or a better time was something Ken so related to. I'd like to welcome to speak another person Ken held in high regard, John Stanton, president and founder of the Running Room Company, sponsor of the Edmonton Marathon, and supporter of all runners and fitness for all. Please welcome John.
Oh, there we go. I was looking at those pictures. I thought I couldn't believe there isn't a picture there that Ken isn't smiling. Did you notice that? Every picture, he had a beaming smile on it. Here, I thought all along it was just me he was smiling at. I first met Ken during a road race, and from the very moment I encountered him, I was inspired by his grit, determination, and sense of humor. Watching him compete in a wheelchair, going backwards with a mirror, and just using his feet was truly amazing. He did it for over 40 years and was nothing short of terrific. He inspired so many of us with his passion for sports and his infectious joy. As a fellow runner, I want to express my heartfelt tribute to Ken, not only for his incredible athleticism, but also for the remarkable person he was. His grace, strength, sense of humor in the face of countless challenges was truly inspiring to all of us. We shared many memorable moments together, racing together, to bonding together over beer, sometimes one, occasionally two. Ken always had a straw ready for the beer. His impact stretched far beyond running, square dancing, and football, touching many and countless lives, including my own. The celebration of Ken's life is a meaningful way for all of us to carry on his legacy and honoring the joy he brought to so many of us.
Thank you so much, John. Ken, always look forward to seeing you at the marathon, and you always took time to speak with him, lots and lots of people, lots for you to do, but even when he couldn't participate anymore, he really enjoyed seeing you. So, as you all know, he did do the half marathon. He was always accompanied by someone so he didn't run into them as he wheeled backwards. So there's a couple of Ken's wingmen here today, friends who ran with Ken and who kept a watchful eye for potholes or other hazards for the back wheeler. So Ken, he loved wheeling the half marathon with Hiro and John, and he loved hearing about Hiro's mini ultra events. So Hiro and John, can you stand and keep standing? Where's Hiro and John? Stay standing, stay standing. I'd also like to invite one of Ken's former coaches, Vin, and another Paralympian, Kristine, to stand up and keep standing. And now I'd like to invite anybody who would have run or wheeled or seen Ken in a race, if you would like to stand up. If you're able, fine. If you're not able, just wave. Anybody else witness Ken in a race? Thank you for waving, standing, running with Ken. Now, stay standing. I'd like to invite anyone who might have danced with Ken at a party. Anybody? Look at all those women. Look at, oh, and a few men too, and the square dancers. And this, keep standing, keep standing. How about skiing, skating, climbing, canoeing, sailing, or cruising with Ken? Anybody? Anybody? All right. Stay standing. Anybody who might have attended a concert or a theater event or seen Ken at a concert or a theater event or a family event, please stand up. Okay. And now I'd like to, or wave if you're able. If you're not able, just wave. And now I'd like everybody else to stand up because Ken didn't like to see people left out. So please stand up. Please stand up. Please stand up. All right, thank you. You can be seated. That was your exercise break. All right, beautiful. So I'm going to introduce Penny and Jim again, but I want to first tell you why I chose this song. In the last 3 years of Ken's life, his mobility decreased as his pain increased. He wasn't able to participate in many of the activities I just referenced, so he spent a lot of time at home, alone. But if he wasn't watching sports or on his computer, he always had music playing, and it was almost always the blues. So that's why this song seemed like a perfect choice when I heard it for the first time a couple of weeks ago at our neighbor's house party. Here's Jim and Penny playing Hanging with the Blues.
Thanks, Lorna. It's an honor to be here and playing for all of you and for Ken. Well, the blues came right on over when they heard. I guess they didn't think that I should be alone. It's good to have some company, that's for sure. You know, I could use a laugh or two, or maybe we could just get stoned. I'm hanging out with the blues since you've been gone. The kind of friends that I could use when everything is wrong. I still have friends without you. I'm hanging out with the blues. Well, they wake me up at 5 for cigarettes, and we sit around and stare at the floor. Then it's time to count up my regrets, so there's not much time for wishing you'd walk through that door. I'm hanging out with the blues since you've been gone. The kind of friends that I could use when everything is wrong. I still have friends without you. I'm hanging out with the blues. Now the blues stay up drinking every night, so you know I stay up drinking with them too. And we sleep in the TV's flickering light, wrapped in that blue blanket that I gave to you. I'm hanging out with the blues since you've been gone. The kind of friends that I could use when everything is wrong. I still have friends without you. I'm hanging out with the blues.
Thank you.
Beautiful, thank you. Hi, everybody. Hi, thank you for being here. Wow. My name is Cayley Thomas-Haug. I am the daughter of Lorna Thomas and Phil Haug, and I am the niece of our beautiful Uncle Ken. I have the honor of reading a few remembrances from friends and family, and we'd also just like to take a moment to thank everyone who sent Ken letters and messages before he died. We read them to Ken in the days before his passing, and I know that he really, really deeply appreciated every single one, and so did we. Your messages are a real treasure trove of story, connection, and community, so thank you. Can you hear me in the back? Rock and roll. All right, here are some words from sister-in-law Genny Thomas. Ken loved going out and having fun. He never said no to an outing unless he already had plans. My favorite memory was at the PSA fishing derby when he caught a fish. What a big grin it was. Ken was always on the go. Don't stop now. Keep wheelin', Ken. From Brother Brian Thomas. So many great memories. Riding in his kid car when we were little, swimming and feeling zero gravity, driving the boat, riding his electro trike, square dancing and groovy dancing, cheerleaders, racing, Ken receiving the Mayor's Award, so proud. Hockey and football games, horse riding, Ken the party animal, listening to tunes full blast, summer camp. From niece CarrieAnn, Uncle Ken, the worst of the best backseat drivers. Amen. Oh my gosh. He taught me how to have fun and showed me that it's always okay to flirt. Once, when my brother Scott and I were kids, Granny and Uncle Ken took us to Gold Bar Park to play. We got kicked out of the wooden park because the Sunshine Girls were having a photo shoot. Granny rushed Scott and I to stand behind a tree while Uncle Ken wheeled up closer to the gals. Until eventually the photographer asked Uncle Ken to join the shoot. That guy never shied away from a pretty lady. Fishing at Camp Hee-Ho-Ha, riding somewhat safe amusement park rides in Mexico, dancing at the PSA parties here at the ACT. These are all adventures I cherish. I'll miss your funny e-cards, Ken, and your smile. I promise to be your eyes as your little nephews and niece grow up, and I'll continue to remind them to always have fun. From Carrie's husband, brother-in-law, Dennis. Ken's brother-in-law, Dennis. Dennis's best memories with Uncle Ken are a toss-up between Uncle Ken constantly running over his feet by accident or sticking his feet out to trip him, watching all the Edmonton Rush games together, or being with him cheering at many Oilers games. The David Descharnais overtime playoff goal game was the best. From Keller, nephew of Uncle Ken. Keller loved all his trips to tell us World of Science with Uncle Ken, to watch IMAX films, and told Uncle Ken he was getting him a star on the Big Dipper so he could always see him. Yeah. From nephew Nolan Dykes. To me, Uncle Ken was someone who never let his disability stop him from living his full life. I have met very few people that were more active, lively, and personable than him, with Olympic medals to boot. But most importantly, I will always admire Uncle Ken's positive outlook on life. I highly doubt he left with any regrets, and even near the end was the happy, comedic man I always knew him as. Uncle Ken gave me sound uncle advice to go shopping while in Amsterdam because I'm abroad. Woof, funny guy. From Alina, the sales staffing coordinator at ArtSpace. Sales staff say Ken is their favorite, never complained. From Stephen, Ken's friend and neighbor. I often think, if Ken can do it, I can do it. He inspired me. From Hiro, Ken's close friend and running partner. I met Ken here at the ACT Center when he asked me to put on his socks after a swim. We became the best of friends. From Brian Schultz, friend and music director for Wild Oats and Notes Music Festival. One year, at the Edmonton Folk Fest, I was in line with Ken and a friend. We were behind these gals who were wearing very short shorts. I asked Ken what he thought about that under my breath. Without a blink, he said, "Too long." Still cracks me up. Words from sister Lorna Thomas. When Ken had back surgery 3 years ago and ended up in intensive care, he ended up in intensive care due to complications. He was not doing well, and the doctor said they would offer him compassionate care. I said no and reminded them about Ken's personal directive that indicated he would want everything done to save his life. Ken fought so hard, spending 3 months in hospital. When he did come home to his apartment, Ken had to adapt the way he did things once again. I am so appreciative of the loving care he received from the Supports for ArtSpace independent living staff, who came in 4 times a day to help him. Sadly, Ken was often in pain and was no longer able to be as independent and as outgoing as he once was, but the last 3 years gave me a wonderful opportunity to spend a great deal more time with Ken. What I witnessed and heard is a man who said constantly, "I will try." This is the life lesson Ken taught me, to say, to whatever life offers, I will try. And lastly, some words that I got to share with my beautiful Uncle Ken the afternoon he died. It was a rare gift to get to tell him just how much he meant to me in the moments before his passing. We were there, close family, to be with him. And afterwards, he asked if I would share what I wrote with you all here today. Kenneth Peter Thomas, you celestial wonder. I know you had a rough beginning, devoid of oxygen for 20 minutes prior to making your grand entrance on February 2nd, 1952. The doctors weren't sure you'd live a year, and yet here you are, a living miracle, 72 and a half years later, and loving us all to bits. Last night, I crawled into my parents' attic in search of a photograph of you holding me the day I was born. I thumbed through albums until I uncovered the image I hoped to find. There I am, swaddled in a little white blanket, and there you are, beaming brightly above me with a face full of recognition, as if to say, oh yes, we are going to get along just fine. You have been a constant in my life ever since. And although I know it will be challenging acclimating to your transition, I take comfort in the thought that no love is ever lost. And in recalling our stories, shared meals, and unspoken bonds, I know I will feel your continued presence. And I do. Thank you for being such a loyal friend to me and my family for decades, but most especially for the last 12 years since my brother Alex's passing. 3 can be a challenging number, and you helped my parents and I to restore balance by rounding us back out to 4. For that, I am eternally grateful. Your steady presence was a balm to my weary heart during those early years. I hope you can rest now, knowing that the worst is over and that we will be okay. Ken, I will miss our FaceTimes and your twinkling eyes and getting to kiss your cheek a mile a minute. I will miss laughing with you and dancing with you. I will miss traveling with you and taking pictures with you. I will miss spending our holidays together. I will miss your curious and observant nature. I will miss our spa dates. We'd do mani-pedis at his apartment. It was awesome. And I will miss watching music documentaries with you. He'd pick them out and invite me over. I will miss spotting you in the audience at all of my concerts. I will miss pulling up to Art Space and seeing you there, patiently waiting for me. But most of all, I will miss caring for and being cared for by you. It has been such an honor. I promised this and I have to do it. I said, I'm thinking I'd like to attempt a half marathon in the next year or so. And he's like, okay. And I suspect that process may also involve me eating a huge stack of pancakes in your honor. He loved pancakes. I will draw on your strength as I rise to the challenge, the imprint of your smile forever etched in my memory. Ken, may you be at peace now. May you be free from suffering. And may our love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Thank you.
Okay. We have one more slideshow, which is about 10 minutes. And then we're going to kind of close by asking you all to join in singing a song that has some relevance to this. Just give me a second here to kind of organize. Okay. What I'll do is I'm gonna. Yeah. Okay. Lights. Okay. Follow along as you get the opportunity to have Ken take you through a lifetime of adventure.
There are places I remember all my life, though some have changed, some forever, not for better. Some have gone and some remain. All these places have their moments with lovers and friends I still can recall. something new. Though I know I'll never lose affection for people and things that went before. I know I'll often stop and think about them. In my life, I love you more. For people and things that went before. I know I'll often stop and think about them. In my life, I love you more. In my life, I love you more. Someone knocking at the door, somebody ringing the bell. Someone's knocking at the door, somebody's ringing the bell. Do me a favor, open the door and let him in. Ooh, yeah. Someone's knocking at the door, somebody ringing the bell. Someone's knocking at the door, somebody's ringing the bell. Do me a favor, open the door, let them in. Yeah, let them in. Susie, Brother John, Martin Luther, Phil and Don, Brother Michael, Auntie Jean, open the door up, let 'em in. Oh yeah. Susie, Brother John, Martin Luther, Phil and Don, Uncle Ernie, Auntie Jean, open the door, let 'em in. Oh yeah, I'm knocking at the door, somebody ringing the bell. Someone's knocking at the door, somebody ringing the bell. Do me a favor, open the door and let 'em in. Ooh yeah, yeah, let 'em in now. Susie, Brother John, knocking at the door, somebody ringing the bell. Someone knocking at the door, somebody ringing the bell. Do me a favor, open the door, let 'em in. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Wild apple trees blooming all around. I must be in a good place now. Sunshine coming through a rainbow-colored sky. Paints pretty pictures in my mind. Oh, what a good day to go fishing. And catch the sunset in the hills. And dream of my yesterdays and tomorrows. And hope that you'll be with me still. Saw a butterfly and named it after you. Your name has such a pleasant sound. Love is all around, and all I see is you. I must be in a good place now. Good day to go fishing. And catch the sunset in the hills. And dream of my yesterdays and tomorrows. And hope that you'll be with me still. I saw a butterfly and I named it after you. Your name has such a pleasant sound. Love is all around, and all I see is you. I must be in a good place now. I I must be in a good place now.
I have had a good life. Yeah. You did. And over that. I hope you all have many more years of life. Fun. Yeah.
Okay, well, I think the water bottles are empty and the bladders are full. And appreciate your patience, that's for sure. We're closing in on the end of the program. And it's most appropriate that Ken gets the last word. He wrote this for me or us to read to you today. Dear family and friends, I have had an amazing, long, active life, as most of you know. See my website, justbackwheeler.ca. I have really appreciated the help I've received over the years from Mom and Dad, Brian, Genny, Lorna, Phil, Cayley, Scott, Erin, CarrieAnn, Dennis, and the grandchildren. And I'd also like to thank my relatives and many friends who I have loved knowing over my lifetime. Also would like to thank all the amazing support services staff. They've helped take care of my personal needs over the years that I've been living in supportive housing. First at McQueen Group Home for 15 years, and then here at ArtSpace Housing Cooperative since 1990. I've had many good friends, old friends and others not so old. Coaches, teammates, just a whole number of folks that have, connected at the heart level with me, and too many to mention. No, I'm grateful for you all being great companions. Well, I guess that's all I have to say. Ken. The Edmonton Folk Music Festival that Ken attended for 43 years closed the festival each year with a rendition of Ian Tyson's Four Strong Winds. And it seems most appropriate in closing here and in recognizing Ken's great interest in music for us to join together and sing Four Strong Winds and remember Ken. And Penny and Jim, if you would be so good as to maybe keep us in harmony, would you mind? Yeah. But we really want you to sing along. So I think we're going to have the lyrics on the screen. And Cayley, do you want to join too?
I'm lonely, 17 that run by, all those things that don't change. I'm one
So that brings us to the end of the formal program, the formal portion. And you are invited to stay, enjoy refreshments, and share stories. I'd like to say thanks to our musicians, Ken Hillaby, and to Jim and Pelly Malmberg. They play professionally and are available to bring music your way. I must mention that there are drinking straws at the back that we encourage you to use in enjoying the cold beverages as a reminder of Ken's way of drinking. And if you're brave, take the Ken challenge. Try drinking a beer through a straw. But sorry, no beer here. I'm pretty sure that Ken's spirit is here in attendance, ready to enjoy and laugh with your remembrances. I'd especially like to thank the people who've come from afar to attend this event, and all of you who made it, I guess just at the greatest gathering. And we'd like, what was that? Yeah. And thanks for your attendance.